A new schools chancellor is set to take charge after the sudden resignation of David Banks, and for Mayor Adams, tension is building about his political future. None of it is good. A major storm is charging toward the coast. Hurricane Helen strengthening and taking aim at Florida as people there run out of time to get out. And a cancer patient defying the odds. Told she had little time to live, she underwent a radical double lung transplant. Now she can breathe a little easier.
From ABC-7 New York, this is Eyewitness News Extra Time.
And good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Josh Einiger. We begin with investigations and departures roiling the Adams administration. The most recent resignation, schools chancellor David Banks, who stood with Mayor Adams today as he announced Banks's replacement, Deputy Chancellor Melissa Aviles Ramos. She will take over at the end of the year. Of course, this is just the latest chapter in a tumultuous few weeks for the Adams administration. The school's chancellor, former police commissioner Edward Caban, health commissioner Ashwin Vasan, and the mayor's chief counsel Lisa Zornberg all have announced their resignations. But buffeted by at least 4 federal corruption investigations, the mayor insists he is doing the city's business. Eyewitness News reporter NJ Burkett shows us Adams insists he won't let the departures or the federal investigations deter him.
It's the image the Adams administration was determined to project. The mayor all smiles while praising outgoing schools chancellor David Banks, who insisted he was retiring, not resigning.
First of all, after 40 years, I'm tired.
Banks embraced his fiancée, First Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright, believed to be their first public appearance together since the FBI seized their cell phones and laptops exactly 3 weeks ago today. Banks is now the 4th administration official to offer his resignation this month. Health Commissioner Ashwin Vasan announced that he, like Banks, will leave at the end of the year. Police Commissioner Edward Caban resigned after his phones were seized. And Lisa Zornberg, the mayor's chief counsel, abruptly quit after sources say her legal advice was ignored. The scope of the investigations is unprecedented in the recent history of City Hall. Broadly focused on the NYPD's nightlife enforcement practices and influence peddling in awarding city contracts. The FBI has also seized the electronics belonging to David Banks' brother, Deputy Mayor Phil Banks, and a third Banks brother, private consultant Terrence Banks, as well as top Adams advisor Timothy Pearson. The mayor surrendered his own phones last November as part of a separate federal probe into his ties to Turkey and 5 other nations. He insisted yesterday he has no plans to resign.
I'm stepping up, not stepping down. I have a city to run.
This morning, City Council Speaker Adrian Adams voiced support for the mayor.
Do you have confidence in Mayor Adams' ability to govern the city?
Yes, I do, and I think that's all I'm going to answer on that.
Sentiments echoed in Washington by House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
I can tell Mayor Adams is trying to do the best that he can in one of the toughest jobs in the world to keep the focus on meeting the needs of the residents of the people of New York City.
But Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was blunt on social media. For the good of the city, she wrote, he should resign.
And tonight, the mayor's response, quote, for anyone who self-righteously claims people charged with serious crime should not be in jail, to now say that the second black mayor of New York should resign because of rumors and innuendo without even a single charge being filed is the height of hypocrisy. I will stay and fight, he says, no matter what. Again, to be clear, nobody has been charged with or accused of any crime. Speaker Adams told me today that she will take questions from reporters here tomorrow. At City Hall, NJ Burkett, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Proverbial storm clouds over City Hall, but there's a real-life hurricane that's about to slam into Florida. Meteorologist Jeff Smith is keeping a close eye on Hurricane Helen. Jeff?
Yeah, about to go into a rapid intensification phase overnight. Right now, a Category 1 storm for now at 85 miles per hour. But watch what happens overnight and into the day tomorrow as it's over this really warm water over the eastern Gulf of Mexico. Very little wind shear to disturb the storm's development. Now the National Hurricane Center thinking this will intensify into a Category 4 storm before slamming into the Big Bend area of Florida, right near Appalachia Bay, by later on in the day into tomorrow evening. Even as it moves well inland, it's moving so quickly that it's not going to lose much intensity. Even over Georgia, interior Georgia could be dealing with a Category 1 hurricane into the wee hours of Friday morning, and then it will finally weaken and kind of rain itself out over the southern Appalachians and the Tennessee Valley. Not before pushing a 15 to 20 foot storm surge into this Big Bend area of Florida. So no doubt a tremendous amount of damage from that. And this will really be remembered for, I think, maybe a foot or two of rain over the Piedmont of South Carolina into western parts of North Carolina and northern parts of Georgia. Atlanta could be getting 12 to 18 inches of rain. Look at how quickly this will organize itself overnight before making that landfall tomorrow evening and then parking itself over the southern Appalachians and the Tennessee Valley. A little arm of moisture might try to sneak up into the tri-state area. We'll detail that in your AccuWeather 7-day forecast coming up. Josh,
this is no joke, Jeff. Thank you. And Hurricane Helene, as Jeff said, is picking up speed as it churns through the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. You're looking at video from Mexico. Tampa's International Airport is now suspending all commercial and cargo operations. That'll take effect at 2 a.m. as Helene's powerful outer bands have already started lashing parts of the Sunshine State. CNN's Michael Yoshida is in Steinhatchee in Florida's Big Bend region, where the clock is running out for people to get ready. Michael?
Hey there, Josh. You mentioned it, the clock running out, and now people here dealing with this rainfall as they make those final preps. Behind me, you can see the boat slips at this marina completely empty. Normally they're full, but throughout the last few days, even today, we've seen those boats lifted up out of the water, trucked away. We've seen businesses along this strip along the water closing down as mandatory evacuation orders have been issued. Officials saying there's still time for people to make those final preps or evacuate, but the window's closing.
You still have time to make the preparations and put your plan in place today, but that time is running out.
And running out fast. Helene is now a hurricane, swirling past Mexico and tracking toward landfall in Florida. And preparing for the worst is a moving target.
Conditions may very well, in the wide range of possibilities, be a Cat 1 all the way to a Cat 4. Many areas to the south are already beginning to feel the impacts from the storm.
Part of that impact is tropical storm force winds and rain, lashing the Keys and southern Florida. In the hours ahead, those conditions will intensify and batter the entire western coastline before an expected landfall in the Big Bend area Thursday evening.
Many of our counties, if not all of them, have called for low-lying and manufactured housing evacuations already.
A term being used a lot by officials this week. You can hide from the wind, but run from the water.
If you do have a major surge and you stay behind, that is potentially hazardous.
Forecasters are gauging Helene's storm surge to hit between 5 and 15 feet in many areas. Many veterans of previous hurricanes like Ian and Idalia are opting to stay put.
I always draw up lots of water ahead of time, make sure I got food in the house, all that.
We're going surfing. We're hitting those waves.
Still, others realize that staying is risky.
If you're a godly person, pray, because I don't really need this. Neither do any of us.
And the National Hurricane Center upping its storm surge prediction to around potentially 20 feet in some areas. The people I've had a chance to speak with here in Steinhatchee, Florida, tell me it's predictions like that, also fresh memories of some of those recent storms as to why they're choosing to not risk it this time around, many of them heading inland as the storm approaches. Josh?
Yeah, Michael, it's interesting, for a relatively sparsely populated part of the state of Florida, they've been hit quite a lot in the last, couple of seasons. Are you finding that people are taking it more seriously now?
Oh, for sure. Just in the day we've been here talking with residents, they mentioned how they hadn't had many storms in the last year and a half. They've had several. Idalia last year, the owner of the business where we're at right now says following that storm, they had water up to waist level, a little higher in some spots. So still signs of that damage as we look around, as we drive around. Some metal roofing still ripped off and torn about. So a lot of those recent storms, it seems, impacting people's perception of Helene and also their preparation. Like I said, the mandatory evacuation issue for this county, Taylor County, went out yesterday afternoon from the sheriff's office, and throughout the day today, we've seen a lot of places already boarded up, a lot of signs saying they're closed, and that they're getting out of here as the storm approaches.
And they haven't had that long to prepare. It's just a storm that kind of blossomed sort of out of nowhere. So good luck to them, and please stay safe to you and your crew. CNN's Michael Yoshida reporting from Steinhatchee, Florida. Thanks. And as we continue tonight with Eyewitness News Extra Time on this Wednesday night, a medical milestone. Surgeons perform a groundbreaking double lung transplant on a woman battling cancer. We'll meet one of the medical team members next. And now to a real medical marvel out of Chicago. Doctors at Northwestern Medicine successfully performed a first-of-its-kind double lung transplant on a cancer patient, giving her a chance at survival when she'd been told she didn't have much time to live. After doctors detected cancer in Amanda Wilkes' lungs, she found out about the DREAM program, which is part of the Northwestern University Canning Thoracic Institute. On June 3rd, she received a new pair of lungs and was discharged from the hospital 1 week later on her 42nd birthday. Dr. Catherine Myers is a lung transplant pulmonologist at Northwestern and was heavily involved in this groundbreaking case. Dr. Myers, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, I thought it was fascinating that lung cancer was actually not this patient's primary cancer, as I read. She had stage 4 colorectal cancer. How rare is it to be able to perform a transplant like this on a secondary cancer?
So, to our knowledge, this has never been done for colorectal cancer, and there is very limited data on transplanting patients who have cancers that originated outside of the lung but have spread to the lung. And we are, as far as we know, the first center that is actually transplanting these cancers that have metastasized to the lung with lung transplant.
What is the status of her primary cancer? Did that have to be under control and in remission before you could do this procedure?
No, so she actually had active cancer in her lungs at the time of the procedure. She had local control, so she had had treatment of her primary site of cancer in her colon, and then she had also received a liver transplant to treat liver metastases. So because there was control outside of the lungs, we said, all right, so let's remove the lungs and remove the cancer and see if that works.
I have so many questions. I mean, first of all, a double lung transplant is something that is quite rare to begin with for any reason. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we only do between 2,500 and 3,000 lung transplants in the United States every year.
And what about both lungs? Is that usually the pair of lungs, or is it only one?
Yes, so both lungs is the more common procedure. Single lung transplants can be done, but more typically we do double lung transplants for most patients.
And what is the recovery, and how is it complicated by this patient's cancer?
So the recovery tends to be pretty long. Most patients are in the hospital for at least a month, and oftentimes they are required to go to inpatient physical therapy rehab in order to get stronger before they go home afterwards as well. Mandy is really unique. Most patients with lung disease are very debilitated when they have these surgeries, but she was very young and was not yet on oxygen. And so she had really focused on keeping her strength up. So her course was actually much more smooth by being out of the hospital in the week, which is pretty uncommon. And she's already started participating in a lot more physical activity. So she's really flown through the surgery and the post-operative course.
I mean, we're looking at her. I imagine that's her lacing up running shoes and running. She's only been out of surgery for how many months?
So 3 months. After about a month post-operative, she asked me if she could start running. And I said, yep, you got to start slow and really take your time. But since then, she has been trying to do some more running, interspersing with walking as she needs to, and just build that lung capacity and rebuild that endurance.
I know there's oncologists, as I understand it, tend to be very cautious when it comes to treating secondary cancers because they don't feel that it's potentially a viable case because the person has a lot of complex issues going on. Sure. What can oncologists learn from what you've done here?
So I think that we really decided to think outside of the box. We learned a lot during the COVID pandemic about what we could and couldn't do with lung transplant. And so by sort of changing our procedure and changing the paradigm that we were thinking and operating under, we're starting to see that we might actually be able to do this for more and more cancer patients. And that's the goal, is for this to be a treatment for cancer patients, much like liver cancer is often treated, not often, but sometimes treated with liver transplant. We want the same to be true for lung.
And what is this patient, her prognosis at this point is what?
So as far as we know right now, she is cancer-free. We're doing very aggressive cancer monitoring, including with like DNA tests that actually test for the cancer DNA. And right now she is cancer-free. We don't know, since she's the first case, as to whether she might have a recurrence in the future and how long that would take. But for now, she's cancer-free and, has very few limits, which is really exciting. And so, we're very hopeful and we're cautiously optimistic that these lungs could give her many years.
She's been through such an ordeal, but has now such a gift thanks to medicine and doctors like you. Catherine Myers from Northwestern Medicine, thanks for joining us tonight.
Of course, thank you again.
Thank you. And as we continue tonight with Eyewitness News Extra Time, Knicks legends team up with students to break ground on a revolutionary new school with a radical curriculum. Next. The MTA board voted unanimously today to approve a $68 billion five-year plan to upgrade subways and buses. The Transit Authority plans to buy new subway cars, fix aging tunnels, and improve accessibility at stations across the system. Of course, this comes at a time of budgetary limbo for the MTA after the governor paused the controversial congestion pricing plan.
The spirit of this program is very conservative. It's focusing on protecting riders from a decline in service due to infrastructure that's been, for whatever reason, neglected or left unfixed. And I think Albany folks recognize it, and I am optimistic they will do what they need to do.
Governor Kathy Hochul says despite the funding gap that came from the pausing of congestion pricing, she will fight to secure as much money as possible for the plan, though it really isn't clear from where. In the Bronx, a group of basketball greats helped break ground on a new charter school in honor of a Knicks legend, Earl the Pearl Monroe. The facility will be co-ed, tuition-free, and have 400 students, all from the Bronx. It'll be located on Elton Avenue in the Mott Haven section. The Earl Monroe New Renaissance Charter Basketball School will have a curriculum entirely designed around basketball and the many career paths associated with the game.
It's such a great moment for us here. First of all, to see you guys out there to welcome this new school. It's been a long time in planning, and it's something that we're all very, very proud of.
Basketball Hall of Famer Earl Monroe helped to lead the Knicks to their last championship in the 1972-73 season. Taking a live look outside right now as we return with Eyewitness News Extra Time. Meteorologist Jeff Smith will join us with the exclusive AccuWeather forecast and a celebration 120 years in the making when you can take a nostalgic ride on one of New York City's oldest subway routes. It is as much a part of New York City as the bagel or the slice of pizza. The subway has been rumbling below the city for close to a century. Just about every New Yorker has a story to tell about squeezing inside the closing doors or watching helplessly as a train pulls away from the platform or just existing on trains that seem like they're just about a century old. Eyewitness News reporter Michelle Charlesworth shows us how the New York City Transit Museum is taking us on a ride like most of us have never been on.
Welcome to 1904. 5 cents to ride, leather straps, horsehair, filled seats. This was Queens Boulevard. Nothing but dirt and farms. These are the underground tunnels and the great unsung heroes doing all the digging.
The first subway system in New York is the IRT, which opened on October 27th, 1904. It cost 5 cents to ride the subway in 1904, and it was that way for 44 years. So through both World Wars and the Great Depression.
Adjusted for inflation, the 5 cents would be $1.77 now.
It connects all of us. It has made place for so many of us. There are entire neighborhoods. Most recently, Hudson Yards. The oldest car in our collection is from 1904, 1907, and they had leather straps. That's why we're called strap hangers.
Check it out. These are all leather straps. I can't get enough of this. It's fantastic. But this, as amazing as this car is, was never underground. This was actually an elevated car. Look at these seats. Is this the best? This is rattan over cotton batting and horsehair, and they're fabulous. This is a car from 1904. It looks like something from a movie. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel has been shot here. Tom Hanks movies. The list goes on. Check these out. These are called grab holds. So these aren't leather, but this is a train that did go underground. This was from 1917.
I love when we get to show people photographs of people actually building the subway. The photographs were made by photographers who actually afforded a level of dignity to these laborers.
Even though New York has about 660 miles of track, it would stretch from New York to Charleston. We aren't the biggest, and we weren't even the first.
The first subway is in Budapest. The second was in London, and the first in the United States was Boston.
But we are open the most.
In the show, there's a sign that says, you know, the Paris Metro goes to sleep. New York is 24/7.
City that never sleeps. In the New York Transit Museum in Brooklyn. Michelle Charlesworth, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
How'd you like to ride one of those trains on your way home tonight, Jeff Smith?
Maybe we could recommission some of those cars. I mean, they seem pretty comfortable.
They look charming. I mean,
they did.
They probably smell better.
Yeah, they very well might. That's a good point, Josh. Here's a look outside right now. A lot of clouds out there. We've had a couple of showers moving across the area, and there will be a few showers into the day tomorrow. You want to keep the umbrella handy right into even early Friday morning, especially south and west of New York City. 65 right now, east wind coming in pretty light, around 3 miles per hour. 68 was our high after a morning low of 62. Those numbers about 5 degrees below average for this time of the year. Got up to 90 on this date back in 1970. Sun goes down officially 6:47. Rises 6:48 in the morning, so it's almost exactly 12 hours of daylight a few days after the autumnal equinox when fall began early Sunday. So until 11 o'clock tomorrow, by the way, there still could be up to a half a foot of inundation along Barnegat Bay in Ocean County just due to this onshore flow. So there could be some minor coastal flooding. Coastal flood advisories continue there. Also a high risk of rip currents at all of our local beaches. Not exactly beach weather into the day tomorrow, but beware of that high risk as we head into the day tomorrow. 65 again right now in the city, more like lower 60s off to the north and west, upper 60s down the Jersey Shore. Like I was saying, a few showers moving across the area right now. Brooklyn, Queens, Nassau County, also up to parts of the Hudson Valley, northeastern New Jersey, getting a couple of sprinkles. And there's more where that came from off to the west. So we'll get a couple of rounds of showers into the day tomorrow, especially from New York City and points west. There's almost a little bit of a connection of this moisture all the way down to, again, rapidly intensifying Hurricane Helen, which is going to probably devastate portions of the Big Bend area of Florida and cause a lot of rainfall over the southeast. And a little arm of that moisture could get up in here by early Saturday morning in a worst case scenario. Here's our futurecast. Overnight tonight, a couple of showers around. You wake up tomorrow morning, a few showers, especially north and west of New York City. They can become a little bit steadier for a time around midday before we maybe get a break during the afternoon. I wouldn't even be shocked to see a few breaks of sunshine at some point during the day tomorrow, allowing our numbers to get up into the middle 70s. So tomorrow, a warmer day. It'll be more humid as well. That front still not completely through here Friday morning, so there could still be a brief shower around. And then we try to dry things out Friday. It becomes a little bit less humid. There can still be a shower during the day to the south of New York City. Maybe we get some more sunshine off to the north and east, but clouds kind of ruling the roost, so to speak, the next several days, even into Saturday. And look, a little arm of moisture from what'll be kind of decaying Hurricane Helene over the southern Appalachians, what's left of it, that can get in here by early Saturday morning. Again, in a worst case scenario, this is one of the only models actually showing that, but more clouds than sun during the day Saturday. Air quality going to be good. Pollen on the low side. UV index will be a 3, which is moderate, assuming we get a break or two of sun tomorrow afternoon. Overcast in the meantime for tonight with a couple of showers around, down to 63, mostly cloudy, humid, warmer tomorrow. A couple of showers, 75. Maybe we even get a couple of rumbles of thunder with those, especially north and west in New York City. Could be a couple of heavy showers early tomorrow evening, and then mainly cloudy and humid down to about 64. Again, more clouds than sun both Friday and Saturday. Friday, there could be a shower south, 75. We'll watch some of Helene's moisture very early Saturday morning, 71. The brighter half of the weekend looking like Sunday, lower 70s. Nice day Monday, and then as we move into October, maybe some rain showers returning by Wednesday. Josh, we'll send it back over to you.
All right, Jeff, thanks a lot. We'll see you later. And that wraps up this edition of Eyewitness News Extra Time. Thanks for joining us. I'm Josh Einiger. Coming up tonight on Eyewitness News at 11, the latest developments on the cascade of corruption investigations into Mayor Eric Adams and his administration. We do hope to see you then tonight at 11. Live look at the Empire State Building. For now, have a great night.